Hello everyone, I am getting ready because it's my dad's birthday today and we are going out to dinner. So I need to get ready and I have about an hour and a half to do so, which is a lot of time for me because I get ready pretty quickly. But I just needed a space to ramble about Indigo because I love that album so much and I need to talk about it because if I made TikToks for every thought that I had about this album, I would probably spam all of my TikTok followers, and I feel like it would just make more sense to put it into one cohesive video, you know? So the first thing I want to talk about is Wildflower. I actually recorded my reactions on my laptop to all the songs, including the Wildflower music video, but the audio, because I recorded it on my laptop, the audio is not good. You can't hear the music that I'm listening to. You can only hear when I say something, so a lot of the video is just like silent. So I'm probably not gonna post it. I might, if I have the time, I might edit clips of it in between into this video so that you can see. I just wanted to start by saying Wildflower was beautiful. I know everybody has different interpretations of music in general, but also just like different interpretations of like this song and every song on Indigo. So I'm not saying that my interpretations are correct, but this is just upon first listen what I thought. So like, you know how Jin's astronaut song, The Astronaut, was like about how he wanted to come back and he will, and like that he wouldn't trade this for anything else in the world. Like my thing was like, so Jin is my bias, but Namjoon has always been like one of those members that I just will always feel like a bias to me, even though he's not quite my bias. I'm just like very attached to him because I think he's just so insightful and so smart and so like thoughtful about everything he does ever, and I just like, I'm in love with him. Something that like I noticed was with The Astronaut, I was thinking about like how Jin was basically saying like, oh, like I wouldn't give this up, like I will always come back, and like with Wildflower, it was kind of just like, I'm so fucking tired of this, but at the same time, like not tired of this, like I don't think he's quitting. It was just very like wow, like this is my life. Like there was a line where he said every day and every night, and then consistent pain and criminal mind. Like I was just like, oh my god, like he is going through it. And I guess it makes sense because if you're like the leader of this global band, like for me it was just like, okay, that makes sense. Like you are the leader of the biggest group in the world, you never get a break. Like that's how I interpreted the song, but I don't want to be wrong, so like I'm just rambling here, and if I'm wrong and there's other things that like other components that I'm missing, because I did listen to the interview and I tried to watch as much content related to it as I can and have the time for, but if there's something I missed, feel free to let me know because I love talking about this album. But anyways, yeah, I just thought Wildflower was really pretty. What is her name? Eugene, the one who does the vocals in the chorus. She's amazing. I don't know if there was anybody else who could have sang that and conveyed the same amount of emotion that she did. Amazing. She's so good. So the first song on the album is Yoon, and I didn't record much of my reaction to Yoon because it was at the time where like when the album came out, it wasn't on Apple Music and I was frustrated and I was just like looking for places. So I ended up listening to it on my laptop on YouTube, like the official YouTube audio instead. And then midway through, it finally popped up on Apple Music and I switched. But I didn't get to record much of my reaction is what I'm trying to say. But Yoon, so when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is a really chill song. Like, cool. But like there was no translations, we didn't see the Tiny Desk where he like explained it, so I was just like, oh, it's a really chill, like vibey song, I like it, but like it's just like chill. And then I realized that the whole premise of it is like that Namjoon wants to be human before he can do art. And what's really interesting to me about that is like, I remember when BTS announced their group hiatus in June, I remember people talking about how quickly the K-pop industry moves. So like how quickly comebacks happen. Like usually with K-pop groups that are on the rise, they'll have 2 to 3 comebacks a year. Like they'll usually do a big comeback, a mini comeback, a Japanese comeback. Sometimes they'll drop like an EP during the holiday season. Like, it's just a lot of comebacks. And like in the Western music industry, like artists release music like every 1 to 2 years, you know what I mean, if they're active. It's like very interesting to me, the contrast. But I thought it was interesting because I was thinking about how Namjoon was basically saying like that they wanted to slow down a little bit and like pursue their own things. And it reminded me of this viral tweet I saw about Adele like disappearing and coming back and just dropping an album. And somebody said that like that's how artists should do it, like live life a little and then create art about their experiences. And I thought about that tweet when Namjoon was talking about the BTS group hiatus, because I was like, oh yeah, like it's so fast paced, like they need time to just like live life and then come back and make music about it. Because like if you're always pressured to make music, you don't have the time to live like a normal human experience, and then what are you going to make art about? So like that's one thing I really liked about BTS like taking a group hiatus. I thought that was really smart, and also just good for their mental health. But it was interesting to me that like Namjoon created Yoon because I feel like it followed my thought process exactly. And then in his Zach Sang interview, where he like brought up Adele and like how her music is just like diaries of her life, like I was like, wow, we are on the same wavelength. Like we have the same brain. And I just thought, I don't know, I thought it was very interesting, and I needed to tell somebody about that. But like, ugh, I love him. And then with Still Life, the second track, I thought that it was super fun. And obviously I didn't really understand the meaning of still life. Like I kind of had a feeling that it was about painting, because like still life sounds like a style of painting, you know, like where it's just like life in a still form. Self-explanatory. But anyways, I didn't really understand the meaning, but I did like the line, life is better than death, I'll prove it. Like I thought that was really nice. But when he explained it on Tiny Desk about like how the artists who create these still life paintings are dead, but then like there's life in the painting or whatever, like, ugh, obsessed. Like I'm just obsessed with his brain. I am obsessed with Namjoon's big brain. I think Still Life is just like a fun song, and I think it has a very wholesome meaning, and Anderson .Paak sounds really good on it. That's all I'm gonna say. And then the third song, All Day with Tableau, I like that song a lot. I think it's fun. It kind of gives me like inspo core vibes, where it's just like a feel-good song. I also liked the line with the "we got dynamite in our DNA." I love it. And I love that like Namjoon got to collab with somebody who is also a BTS supporter. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's great that Namjoon has been collabing with artists who he loves, but also like love him back. And yeah, it's just a fun song. I don't have many thoughts about all the songs. This is more just like a ramble. Like I didn't take notes. I was planning on taking notes for this album, but then I was like, oh, I'll just record my reactions on my laptop. And then the recordings all ended up being awful. So I don't have thoughts necessarily prepared, but as they pop up, I'm just gonna say them. Forgetful made me cry. It was just, I haven't had time to read lyric translations because I only had time for the album on the release night. And then like throughout yesterday, I've just been like playing it while like cooking or like doing chores or whatever. Like I haven't really had time to like sit down and like consume it, you know, like read all the translations and like think about everything. But Forgetful was just like really wholesome. I think that was the one that he started the album with, so it's like the oldest song. I also was just laughing because Namjoon posted a video of him in 2019 on his story where he was recording that song, and then he messed up the beginning and just yelled fuck really loud. I love him. He's hilarious to me. But oh my god, where's my eyebrow pen? Okay, I'm using this instead of this because I can't find the brush that I like using, but I don't really like this pencil that much. It's fine. I'm sorry, I don't have many notes on Forgetful because I just like listening to it. But if anybody wants to talk about it with me in the comments, like I am so down. Like I love talking about this album. I love when people point out things that I might have missed. The next song on the album is Closer, And to be honest, when I first heard Closer, like my initial reaction was like, oh, this is gonna be the one that's my favorite song on the album. Because I just love the vibes, you know? I think it's a really good song. It's really pretty. But you know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of gave me, and I could be totally wrong about this, but the way that I interpreted Closer was like the idea of like, oh, when you're, okay, oh, this could be wrong because I haven't read translations and it's fine, like you can correct me, but just don't be mean, please. But the way that I interpreted it upon first listen was like, oh, when you're famous or whatever, not that I would know what that's like, but when you're famous and like you want to be in a relationship with somebody, but you can't because you're a celebrity and you can't have a dating scandal because it's a scandal to some people, you know? Um, and like, so like obviously BTS being the biggest group in the world, like it's gonna be hard for them to date, especially because some fans are like, you know, not gonna take that well. But sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. How I interpreted Closer is like, oh, you want to be with somebody and you have like chemistry with them, blah blah blah, but you like can't be with them like publicly, or like you can't be with them in general because like you're not allowed to date in your career. So it's just like, oh, like this is as close as you can be, like you can just like look at them and you can like be near them, but you can't get any closer because it's like, yeah. That's how I interpreted it. And also people were like saying like, oh, this is just proof that Namjoon has sex, and I'm like, Namjoon's lines were not even the ones about that. But yeah, I don't have the lyrics translations, and I probably after posting this will go into a deep dive into the translations. But like essentially what I took away from that song was like, oh, like Namjoon like was in a secret relationship kind of, and like he couldn't be public about it. But I could be wrong. I'm totally fine with being wrong, because like in my defense, I did not read a translation. I just came to this conclusion off of the English and also some of the commentary on Twitter that I was seeing. Like this is kind of the conclusion that I've come to, but it's okay if I'm wrong. Next, we have my favorite song on the entire album, hands down, Change Part 2. So like I was a big fan of the original Change by Namjoon featuring Wale. It was actually one of the first songs that I fell in love with as a baby army. Like I remember hearing that song and I was telling my friend, I was like, this one is freaking good. And I just like I loved the original Change. And like, you know, the original Change song was about like social justice or social injustice. Oh shoot. I just opened a new bento and it's the exact same as the one that damn it, I'm so As we all know that the original Change is about like social justice. It just references a lot of social issues. And I thought that Change Part 2 was gonna be another song like that. Because, you know, like it has the same title, and it's by the same artist. Like you would think that it's like a reprise or something. But nope. I think that Namjoon just also wanted to call this song Change, but he couldn't because he already has a song called Change. So he just called it Change Part 2 because it's also like about change. But I remember my reaction, I literally have it recorded, but I was like you know how it opens with his vocals just going things change, people change, everything, and then change, and then everything like the scratchy electronic background comes in. I thought it was gonna be a soft song because of his vocals in the beginning, but then it like cuts to that and I literally like jaw dropped. My initial thought was like, fuck everything, this is the song for me. Like this is my favorite song on the entire album. Like I don't care about well, I do care about everything else, but like, you know what I mean? Like this one was just like it for me because I like music with electronic characteristics, I guess you could say. Like my top artists in 2020 were BTS, Taylor Swift, 100 Gex. Like I love music with electronic elements in it. So this one just like really stood out to me, and I just love how he says things like fuck my interviews from years ago. When you think about Namjoon's interviews from years ago, like obviously he's had Korean interviews as well, but I think about his Western interviews and how like a lot of people did not like his Western interviews because, well, BTS's Western interviews in general, but a lot of people didn't like them because they were just like, oh, what's your favorite American fast food chain? Or like, what's your favorite American word? Like, you know what I mean? Like English American word. And like, it was just like, his interviews when he like BTS were breaking out into the West initially were just like kind of disrespectful, had like xenophobic undertones and all that. So I just like thought it was interesting that he was like, fuck my interviews from years ago. And also the entire song is in English, so it makes me think that it's directed to the Western media, but I could be wrong. But I also think like with Namjoon, like doing something like that, making an entire song in English, I feel like it has to be intentional, especially when you think about Yoon and you think about how he wanted Erykah Badu singing the chorus of like, you be a human, because he thought that the audience would resonate to somebody like her with so much like life experience singing that chorus. So it's like everything Namjoon does is very intentional and very like thought out. And I wouldn't be surprised if like this was a dig at like the Western media, just even a little bit, because it's all in English and he's talking about like interviews and stuff and wiki and like all those infos. Like it just wouldn't surprise me. I think it's a great song. It's my favorite song off the album if I haven't said it enough times. But yeah, the next song on the track list is Lonely. And okay, sorry, I don't mean to like make this about Jin, but like this is just something that I talked about with the astronaut, and it's happening again with Lonely. So like one thing I really like about Jin, and like when he creates his songs, he's very blunt about his feelings. Like with Namjoon, he kind of dances around it. Like he'll instead try to convey a feeling by like using wordplay and like poetry, and he like thinks of creative ways to express things, which I love about him. Like Namjoon is my rap line bias, and that's mainly the reason why. But they just have different ways of writing, different styles of writing, and I appreciate all the different styles of writing that each member of BTS has. And one thing I like about Jin's style of writing is that he's very blunt. Like in The Astronaut, the last line is literally just like, and I love you. And it's like, it made me cry because it's just like, oh, like there's so many ways that I could like express this, but I just really want you to understand that I love you. And it's like, oh my God, he loves us so much. Like he's just straight up saying it. And like, yeah. But anyways, the thing about Lonely that like broke me is that like, to convey a message of saying like, oh, I'm lonely, like you would think that Namjoon would say something like, wake up in Tokyo, feel like a torso. Okay, not that specifically, but you would think that like Namjoon would try to paint a picture of loneliness and like saying something really poetic and like just deep that would require analysis to come to the conclusion that he's lonely, kind of thing, you know, because that's like usually how he writes lyrics. But like this song literally just opens with I'm fucking lonely, and it made me bawl. Like I was like, he is just straight up like I feel like I'm putting so much thought into one line, but like it just hit me different for some reason, because it's like there's so many ways I could say this, but like truth of the matter is I'm fucking lonely, and I'm like, oh my God. So I just like appreciate the bluntness, and I really like that song. But a million times too. What also gets me about that song is like, obviously in the position that you're in, you're gonna be lonely. Like it's hard to be friends with somebody who has like so much power, you know, and like so much like global influence. It's just something that like we as fans or like just people who are like bystanders can always assume about like giant global celebrities like that. But like the fact that he just like straight up said it and like confirmed everything that we've always speculated is just like, oh my God, my heart. So also, you know how like you're supposed to listen to the album in order, so like it goes from Closer to Change to Lonely. Like people also speculate that like kind of looks like a relationship and breakup, and I also kind of agree, especially when he says like, now I hate the cities I don't even know. Like damn, who hurt him and what are we gonna do about it? Next is Hectic, and something about Hectic was I really like the production of Hectic. I don't know, it reminds me of that Frank Ocean song that's like na, 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 na. It literally reminds me of that, and it makes that like style of music makes me feel like I am ascending. Like it makes me feel like I'm floating. I don't really know what to say because I just like did not look into the lyrics of this one that much because I was just too busy vibing. Like I just listened to the album from start to finish every time, and every time this song comes on I just like no thoughts, vibing. It's probably depressing, and if I took the time to look into the lyrics I'd probably be depressed, but it's a beautiful song sonically. Last song on the album is number 2, and I actually did go out of my way before making this video to read the translations, just because that one definitely had like the most Korean. And one thing about like Namjoon's music in general is like you can figure out what he's saying if you just know one of the 2 languages he sings in or like raps in. So like obviously English and Korean. If you only know English, like you can kind of get the vibe of like what the message of the song is. Like for example with Soul, like he says 사랑과 미움이 같은 말이면 I love you soul, I hate you soul. And it's literally just saying if love and hate mean the same thing, I love you soul, I hate you soul. Like you can get the vibe because he obviously knows both languages, and like I think he's really good at conveying his message in both languages without having to. Anyways, I actually had to go out of my way to look up the lyric translation for this one because I wanted to know, and it was just like such a good song to close the album with. I noticed that people were saying on Spotify you can't shuffle Indigo because like Namjoon wants you to listen to it from start to finish, and I just think it's great that he closed the album with a song that just says like don't look back, don't worry, and it's just about like everything that he's been through up till now. Like what a great way to close the archive of his 20s, you know? So I just love the song. I think it's great. It's really comforting. It kind of makes you feel like no matter what you've been through, like everything will be okay kind of thing. So I like it. I just overall love this album. I will definitely look into the translations and we can talk about it more. I really liked number 2 even more after reading the translation, so I think that the same thing will happen when I read the translations for the other songs that are like in Korean. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed talking about this album with me. Obviously my thoughts were not as deep as like other people who have taken the time to like analyze everything, but if you want to talk about it with me in the comments, please do. I just realized I never filmed a proper outro, but thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, if you want to discuss this in the comments, I will literally be going through them. I could talk about this album all day.